everyone. This is Dr. Ian Cyrus, and this presentation is going to be about the beginning of Tai Ji Chuan. Tai Ji Chuan, and it's not Chi, it's Ji, like J-I. Tai Ji Chuan, meaning Grand Ultimate Polarity Boxing. All right, and the most basic posture in this, in Tai Ji Chuan or Xing Yi Chuan or Bagua Zhang, is this posture known as standing pole, and it's called Zhan, Z-H-A-N, Zhuang, right? Zhan Zhuang, meaning standing pole. The requirements of this particular skill is mind-boggling. It will blow your mind because there's just so much that your mind internally has to deal with in order to maintain a proper posture. So consider this in Tai Ji Chuan, particularly Chen Tai Ji Chuan, lesson 1. Okay, so I'll just go through some of the requirements for this, and you'll see how deep it really is. Now, I posted on Facebook and on YouTube a few days ago the basics of meditation, and you can begin there. That is seated meditation, but this is a little bit more dynamic form of meditation, so it's standing. Okay, so you can move from seating, and once you become comfortable with the requirements of seated meditation, then you can progress to standing meditation, which is Zhan Zhuang. Okay, so now in order to do Zhan Zhuang, you stand with your feet just a little bit more than shoulder width apart. Okay, so a little bit more than shoulder width apart. You can shift back and forth, forward and backwards, left to right, until your weight settles right through the balls of your feet. Again, that point through your feet is known as bubbling spring, right? So you have to bring your awareness again, whether you're doing seated meditation or standing meditation, you bring your awareness to that point. So we're going to go from the bottom up. Okay, so once you've established that, you bend your knees, right, until the knees is directed right over the feet. You don't want it going in or going out, but you want your knees to be bent directly over your feet, right? And if you drop your knees naturally, it will come to a point where to go any further like this will create distortions in your posture. Okay, so just naturally bend your knees, and Tai Chi can be practiced, by anyone regardless of age. So you can take these postures to an extreme, or you can just simply do what your body can tolerate, right? So you simply bend your knees. Keep your back straight. Now, when it gets to the groin area, you don't want the groin to be hollowed in. You want to somewhat open what's known as the gua, or the groin space. You don't want to collapse it. You want it open. You want to round your crotch or your groin area. It should be rounded. It shouldn't be collapsing inwards again. Now, once you've done that, you want to bring your awareness again to your, right, I'll stand while I talk, to your perineum, okay? And therein again lies two major points of focus. That is the first point on the governing vessel channel, which goes up the back and ends at governing vessel 28 at the frenulum. And conception vessel 1, which starts at the perineum, and it comes up and goes through all the way up the middle of your body to this point just below the lip. Okay? Now, Also, your awareness comes to this point again, or this area known as the dantian or dungeon. That is, and here's the thing: this dungeon or dantian means red elixir, which is basically the first chakra, which its vibrational quality on the spectrum of visible light is red, right? So this orb or red field is positioned in the middle of your pelvic girdle. So you can envision it as 3 inches below your belly button, 3 inches deep, okay, and 3 inches in diameter. On the front surface of this orb, there are 3 acupuncture points that defines it, and that is CV or conception vessel 1, conception vessel 4, 5, and 6. 6 being the sea of chi. So there's where you want to bring your awareness to whenever you're standing. In Western science, it's known as the center of gravity, okay? Now, on the posterior aspect of the dantian or dungeon or tanden is governing vessel 4, and that point is known as Mingmen or gate fire, life gate fire, fire gate. That's the point, right? And that's located between the spinous processes between lumbar vertebrae 2 and 3, to give you a little bit more specific location. All right? Now, once you have established that awareness of your dantian or dungeon, okay, you follow this point up again, chest center, you establish that point, and that's conception vessel point number 17, known as chest center. The actual name of the point is chest center, but therapeutically it has very dramatic effects, like everybody's experiencing respiratory issues now. So stimulating that point allows the chi of the lung and chest to descend, okay, rather than it coming the other way. All right, so continuing up, okay, at this point, this channel again, the conception vessel goes to the under part of the left, which is like a trough, and then there's several other points on the governing vessel, but I want to try to keep this as simple as possible, if that's possible, okay? So it goes over and it comes and it's under the lip at the frenulum. So when you, in standing meditation, you have to touch the tongue to the palate, okay? So the tongue touches the palate. All right. Now, the armpits, when you standing in Zhuang or standing pole, the armpits is neither open nor closed. The feeling should be that if you have 2 raw eggs in your armpit, if you squeeze too hard, the eggs will break. If you open too much, the eggs will fall and they'll break. So you have to this feeling of just holding, okay? And that's important. All right. So the next part is what you do with your upper body. Again, your chest and back in relation is like a bow. In other words, if you see me from the side, you don't want to see this kind of thing. No, it's like you round your shoulders slightly so that your back somewhat stretches this way, and you relax the chest. Now, the way to correct this is that most of us breathe from the chest. You know, we go, if I would ask you to take a breath, but no, it should be so the shoulders really doesn't move, right? So you can test it by assuming this position, rounding your back and relaxing the chest muscles. All right? Now, what happens at this level is that you don't want to stick your butt out like that. Don't stick your butt out. In other words, you want to tuck the tailbone so that the tailbone is pointing on a plumb line directly between the width of your feet. So you have this feeling of the spine, the spinal column elongating, okay? And a feeling of a plumb line between your feet. The next requirement is that from the top of your head, you want to feel like you're being suspended, like there's something pulling you upwards. So between tucking your tailbone and extending from your head, it elongates your spine and creates space so that in between the spinal segments, so that your neural impulses to all the various aspects of your body, all the systems, is optimal. All right? Okay, so another thing, when you're breathing, when you start to do this diaphragmatic or Dantian breathing, it massages your inner organs so that it brings blood flow and it increases nerve conduction velocity to the organ, and there's a ton of health benefits to doing this, just simply standing in this way. All right? Now, the breathing, as I discussed in my video, the basics of meditation, when you breathe in through your nose, the tongue to the roof of the mouth, it goes down and it fills your torso, that is from here to here, from the bottom up. Okay, it's like blowing into a balloon, as I have stated before. So when you breathe, a lot of people, they breathe and it's just this part that's moving, and there is no attention given to the entire circumference of the body. So when you breathe in, you fill the body from the bottom up and all around. So if I were to put one hand on my abdomen and the other on my lower back, I should be able to feel the breath even back here. All right? Because your kidneys and your adrenals needs attention too, especially those. Okay? Let's see. This breath should fill from the bottom up and go all the way to the top of your head. There is an acupuncture point here that is important. That feeling of suspension from the top goes to the point governing vessel number 20, or Bai Hui, or in English is 100 meetings or 100 spirit meetings. All right? So you filled from governing vessel 1, conception vessel 1 area, which is the perineum, which contracts upwards when you on the in breath, and it relaxes on the out breath. Okay? But that breath goes all the way to the top of your head. Most people stop it here. No. That is not correct. Okay? So I'll just move on. Your arms, your arms are just naturally to your sides. You simply lift your arms in line with your shoulders. Okay? Lift your arm in line with your shoulders and let the elbow drop so that you have this feeling of holding in your armpits. Okay? Just let it drop. And it's like you hugging a tree. So if you're a tree hugger, this should be easy for you. Okay? You're hugging a tree. You don't want your thumb sticking up. You want your thumb really in line with the lateral surface of the index fingers. So it's or holding a jar. If you hold a jar, you don't hold the jar like this. You would have to wrap your hand around the top of the jar, right? So that's what that is. And you drop the elbow as though there's this feeling of suspension from the elbow. Okay? Now, another thing to think about is your root, which is bubbling spring or kidney point number 1. okay? 100 meetings, all right? And Lao Gong, which is a lesser gate. Acupuncture point number pericardium, or PC, 8, okay? So, you hold this posture, all right? The chin is slightly tucked so that your nose is in the middle of your midline, is along the midline, and your ears is along the axillary line. So holding this posture, what it does, it pitches every muscle in the body in relationship to your skeletal structure so that it's almost neutral. You know, in terms like that. But what's going to start to happen, and for most beginners, even after 30 seconds, their body starts to shake, it warms up. You know, there's a lot of strange things that happens when people try to hold this posture. If as a beginner you can hold this for 90 seconds or 180 seconds, which is about 3 minutes, you know, you're really doing good, okay? So it's a powerful, dynamic form of meditation. And it's the first thing that you're really taught in the 3 major internal systems, which is Tai Chi, Bagua, and Xingyi, okay? Now, standing pole is in relation to what's known as moving pole. In other words, even if I were to hold this posture, if even I were to move, okay, or move, I still maintain all of the same requirements while moving, and that is a challenge, okay? Every major practitioner of these 3 systems, and mine, work very hard at maintaining those requirements throughout movement. No matter how dynamic the movement, the goal is to maintain those requirements. And it takes years in order to even maintain some of them, okay? So I'll stand so that you can see what it's supposed to look like. Also, while you're holding this posture, what you do with your eyes is important, as in the basic meditation. You should be looking at there's 4 things you can do. Your eyes can be open, they could be closed. You can squint your eyes like you're looking at the top of Mount Fuji, or you can cast your eyes about 2 to 3 yards in front of you so that your eyes are neither open nor closed. Now, your hands should be just below the level of your shoulders. It's not up here. Well, there's some postures, several postures you can do this in, but this is the most basic one. It's not really in the basic mode of it. You're not up here, you're not down there, at least not yet. Okay, so it's in line, like you're hugging the top of a jar or a tree. Elbows are suspended. Now, while you're doing this, you're going to feel areas of tension in your body, and you're going to feel like your muscles are screaming. So the goal here is to bring your attention to that area of your body and mentally work at relaxing those muscles and removing those restrictions that you will feel. Okay? Like right now, I'm feeling them in my left thigh. So I can, especially in my quads. So I have to work at bringing my attention to that area of my body and accepting where I am in this posture. It's very difficult to do. Okay? So back to here again. Now, if you can stand here for 2 minutes, at the end of the 2 minutes, you simply lower your hands without changing anything. Your hands go up to the sides. You take a deep breath into your dantian, and like you're stroking a long beard. You exhale and stand. And that's lesson 1 in Tai Ji Chuan, particularly Chen Tai Ji Chuan. The next thing I'm going to talk about in a separate video clip is what are the key signatures of this particular style of Tai Chi. Now, Chen Tai Ji Chuan is probably the original form, most likely, no, it is the original form of most Tai Chi systems. The one that you see being practiced widely is the Yang style. And there's a whole story about how that came to be. So maybe in a separate video, I would sit and talk about how these systems came into being and which is the original style. Now, I'll say that this thing is devastating as a martial art. So just because it's slow moving, it doesn't mean that it's less of a martial art. Any art that's named Grand Ultimate Polarity Boxing, you have to know that there's some serious martial arts applications to what this is. Even that posture that I was holding has applications. Okay? So I've covered a lot, and the goal is to be able to hold this for a minute. As beginners, if you can hold it for a good minute and a half, 2 minutes, you're doing good. Now, I'm often asked, well, how long should you really hold it? Well, it depends on the school that you're in. You know, I mean, some masters advocate that you should only hold it for 2 to 3 minutes. Some people say you can hold it between 2 minutes and 2 hours. I know my teacher, he was somewhere between 5 minutes and 30 minutes. Okay? So, all right? So, thank you. And remember, this is lesson 1 of Chen Tai Ji Chuan.